Okay, so this is take 2 of trying to record this video. Number 1, I'm incredibly sleep deprived, and number 2, I fucked up the audio on the last one, so I recorded for 20 minutes for nothing. That's fun. But, welcome. This video, I'm going to be watching this absolute masterpiece right here we have from CNN, the pinnacle of modern-day honest journalism. Before we begin, I would like to start off by saying that, as you may have noticed if you actually watch this channel, which all 3 of you that do, thank you, our uploads have been terrible recently, as in, I think it's been a month since our last one, at the least, so I'd like to explain that. It's been very hard to gather everybody together recently. I've been wanting to do a video basically every day, but everybody else has been kind of, it's not their fault. They're not just being lazy or whatever. I don't want to give off that vibe at all. It's just everybody's been kind of busy because they have lives and I'm a NEET. So, yeah. So it's been hard. But new content is coming soon. And starting with this. Anyway, into the video. I've actually watched this already because there was a first take to this. So I'm going to be retreading my old points from that and hopefully being more concise.
There's no question anymore. 4chan and 8chan are hotbeds for white nationalist terror.
Okay, this is the first thing I'd like to address is that they are not. They are websites that have free speech, which draws in every kind of person. You could say that they are also hotbeds for communism. Or you could say that they're hotbeds for LGBTQ people because there's a whole LGBT board, which, there's no neo-Nazi board, It's a hotbed for all type of people. It's a hotbed for free speech. So therefore, it's a hotbed for people, right? There are white supremacists there. There are neo-Nazis there. There are hardcore leftists there. There's everybody there. It's just, it's intentionally misrepresenting the service, the website, in order to fit a narrative.
Terrorists who attack our mosques, our synagogues, our Walmarts. Going to these websites, if you're an outsider, can be kind of dizzying. The look of it resembles the internet of more than a decade ago. And even if you're used to seeing offensive content pop up on Twitter or Facebook, it's not even close to what's being posted and allowed up on 4chan and 8chan.
Yeah. See, if you spend your entire life just scrolling Twitter, then yeah, you're going to have a sanitized view of the world because those websites are intentionally made to do that. They're intentionally made to censor, to crush, and to destroy any type of view that's not inside of the status quo, right? So yeah, if you actually go to a website that has any form of freedom of speech, then you are going to be surprised that people are speaking freely, right? I don't see that as a negative. It doesn't mean I co-sign literally everything that's been said on 4chan or especially not 8chan, Jesus Christ, but I do believe that people have a right to say these things. And trying to take that away, as is implied here, that's way more of a slippery slope than allowing them to say it.
4chan came first, and it allowed users to anonymously post whatever. And that whatever quickly became pretty much anything offensive you can think of. Go to the political board and you'll find racism, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, misogyny. It's all there.
Yeah. You'll find communists, too. Again, this person is focusing on one side of the aisle, and it really bothers me because it is an intentional thing. I think I've seen people before that have given the news kind of the benefit of the doubt, that they're just boomers, right? I think that people think that the news media is just run by boomers who don't understand our modern technology. They perfectly understand it. It is their job to understand it. They're doing their job by understanding it and then manipulating it and the view of it and manipulating our perception of it to their own gain, right? So it's ridiculous.
But some things were too much even for 4chan, and so a new company formed a news site, and 8chan was born that promised...
Okay, look at that big red warning right there, right? Big old red warning. It's right at the top of the website. If you don't see it, then you're intentionally missing it, right? Warning, some boards on 8chan might have content of an adult or offensive nature. If you see that warning, you look at that warning, you read that warning, you understand that warning, then why in the hell would you continue scrolling if you realize that you were easily offended? If you see a stop sign, you understand you're supposed to stop. If you see a green light, you realize, oh, I can go. But then suddenly, the second you see oh, there's offensive content here sign, you think to yourself, I found a safe space. I wonder why that is. It's funny to me how you're intentionally misinterpreting the meaning or just totally ignoring these warning signs that they have up.
Even less moderation. They call themselves the darkest reaches of the internet, and they're not wrong. And for years, people on those sites said that the racism that they posted was basically just a game, where the winner is whoever posts the most offensive thing possible. Sure, there's racism, they say, but it's ironic racism, all part of what they call posting. Well, it's not a game. Here's why they're wrong. If shock value...
Let me tell you what you're doing. Let me tell you what you're thinking. Let me tell you the context behind your actions. Let me explain to you what you mean when you say this and when you do this. It's a gaslighting technique. That's what it is. It's psychologically, it is a gaslighting technique. It's sad to see such blatant manipulation from the media, but it's also not surprising in the least. It is astounding to me that people watch this. 785 likes, right? 14k dislikes, that gives me hope. However, 785 likes, right? People watched this and they didn't see through that. Some people saw this and they thought this is quality journalism, right? And I don't care what side of the aisle you're on, right? You could be the most just left-wing, hardcore, actual unironic communist person, right? I don't care what side you're on. You should recognize bad journalism. You don't want bad journalists defending your side. That is a bad thing to have. You don't want stupid people arguing for you, right? Because then people will think your side is stupid. And no matter who watches this video, you should recognize its faults. That's what I'm saying.
Is the currency of a certain strain of the internet, then think of 4chan and 8chan kind of like a central bank. They print the worst kind of hate and violence imaginable, which then gets filtered throughout the wider internet, through Reddit, through Twitter, through people like conspiracy theorist Alex Jones, who admitted in a deposition that he uses it as a, quote, source for InfoWars.
What I'm asking is, do you or do you not know 4chan was your source?
I believe it was one of the places that put it up.
That's, revealing that it was the source for one single issue in one single context. However, I'm not even going to comment on this because I don't know about the situation because I don't really follow Alex Jones like that.
Looking back, 4chan didn't start out as a white nationalist breeding ground that it's become. It has several different channels about pages that are about art and hobbies,
and the LGBTQ board. The board specifically for LGBT people, gay people, trans people, people that neo-Nazis don't really like that much. So saying that it's a white nationalist website, not very accurate. But of course you aren't going to mention the LGBTQ board in this video at all. I've watched this video already, as I've said, and they just don't mention it at all. And it seems like an intentional oversight.
Not all politics.
When 4chan began, more than 15 years ago, it wasn't really the place that it is now. It was a place where trolls and pranksters and people who were deep into internet culture hung out. And as such, it was really, really influential in the development of internet culture, in the development of memes, in the development of trolling raids. Over time, the political power of the hive mind of 4chan became apparent, not only to people on the board, but to people who were coming from outside and who had different agendas. And so, in the last, 3 or 4 years, one particular bit of 4chan has come to be largely associated with the alt-right and with white supremacy.
Go to 4chan and you'll find memes right out of Stormfront, racist.
Right. To that guy's point, I actually do agree with him. I think that, well, let me say heavily partially. I agree with the first couple things he said. I do think that he's at least somewhat studied his stuff, because 4chan did start off as kind of a niche thing and then became a very popular thing. And it did definitely have a huge influence on internet culture, which is why you see like trolling as a mainstream thing, even though it could have very easily just been a kind of a basement dweller only type thing. But like normal people, like Instagram normies, do trolling, you know? And that's thanks to 4chan. So I do agree with that. And I think that he's actually done at least a modicum of research in his life, unlike this man who's reading off a teleprompter.
Anti-Semitic, sexist trash. But when someone posts racism for the lulz side by side with people who are so committed to the cause as to shoot up a mosque, the line between the two stops being a line.
One person did that. One. A single one. Ever. Just one person. How many people with Facebook accounts do you think have committed horrible atrocities? How many people with Twitter accounts do you think have killed somebody? How many people with YouTube channels do you think are pedophiles? A lot of the Minecraft community comes to mind. They are trying to convince you, unironically, that correlation is causation. Think about that for a second. In modern day, the media is looking you in the eyes. Well, they're looking the teleprompter in the eyes, but they're staring at you if you have the perspective of you looking at the screen. They're looking you in the eyes, and they're telling you that correlation is causation, because that is the only way that they can back up their point.
Racism is racism, white nationalism is white nationalism.
One person.
Take the OK hand symbol, the symbol that has become associated with white nationalists. The Southern Poverty Law Center...
Yeah, it became associated with white nationalists because the media fell for the obvious bait. And they will defend this obvious bait, falling for this obvious bait, because of the image that they're about to show. I'm just going to skip to it. The image that they're about to show of the New Zealand mosque shooter who held up his hand... Yep. Held up his hand in the OK sign while he was in court. And guess what? He did it to troll. Just like the original poster of the OK sign post on 4chan did. It's all a troll. And it's blatant because the guy who made the original post on 4chan literally says that this is to... Hold on. Where is it? Leftists have dug so deep down into their lunacy, we must force them to dig more. What does that sound like to you? It sounds like they're baiting. They're baiting the media, and the media is literally actively believing it. It's sad. It's sad. And the right-wing media does the exact same thing, don't get me wrong. I hate both sides of the aisle fairly equally, and no, I'm not a centrist in any form, shape, or fashion.
Might have started out as this ironic troll to fool a gullible media, but it ended up being displayed by the perpetrator of one of the worst hate crimes of a generation. So whether 4chan or 8chan's trolling racism is ironic or not, it doesn't matter. It's there. And it's inspiring and emboldening unimaginable hatred and acts of terror. It's having devastating consequences throughout the globe. And just
whether CNN's incompetence is malicious or unintentional, it is there, and it is causing mass misinformation and a lack of education in the youth.
This year, we know that 3 separate shooters, including the El Paso shooter, are believed to have posted to 8chan before committing their slaughters.
Literally all that means is they posted to 8chan in their lives before they did basically the thing that ended their lives. They're not going to post to it after they shot up the fucking whatever they shot up, you know? So they posted to 8chan literally ever. That's all that means. It's ridiculous. It is genuinely ridiculous. Think about if we did the same stats for Twitter users. Think about if we did the same stats for Facebook users. Oh, look at this. 500,000 people who've killed people have posted to Facebook before. Clearly we need this website banned. Nobody would say that, seriously. So why are we saying that about 8chan?
There's nothing funny or ironic about it.
What a surprise. Anyway, in closing, I do believe that CNN is actively malicious in its programming and in its messaging, and I wish for a world where less people bought into it. It makes me happy, the like to dislike count that I can see on this video. However, it makes me unhappy that without a browser extension you can't even see it, and I know that's exactly why YouTube did this. Exactly why YouTube took away the dislikes. Have a good day, everyone. Stay strong out there.